The motorsports world is where legends are made, the unthinkable happens, and barriers are broken. One man harnesses the power of an industry every week. This is the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR, with Jim Beaver.
Welcome to this week's General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Switching things up this week, doing things a little bit different. We are going to roll right into things after this with Chris Leone and Power Rankings. I know, normally that's safe for hour number 2, but we are just throwing the script into the wind this week and, changing it up. So, Power Rankings, then we're going to roll into an interview with two-time winner this weekend, Keegan Kincaid. And then hour number 2 is going to be dedicated to an interview I did about a month and a half ago. Good friend of mine. Loves motorsports. Good friends with Travis Pastrana and Street Bike Tommy. Had him up at Dirtfish Rally School. My good friend Tim Montana. So Tim is going to be on the show for the entire hour number 2. And Tim, he is, I don't even want to call him a country singer. He's just a musician, but he is an amazing talent behind the mic and on the guitar. And I got to tell you, he is definitely a guy that I am absolutely stoked to have on the show and finally air this one for you guys. So our number 2 will be Tim Montana. And, you guys have any questions for guests, me, guest suggestions, hit me up at JimBeaver15 on social media. And, I guess I didn't even lead with thanking you guys, but thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and I know I got some really cool stuff coming up the next couple of weeks. We'll be heading out to Crandon and also to Pastrana Land. So, I definitely might end up talking about that a little bit more today. If not, we'll definitely save it for next week. But, I think maybe I might actually try a backflip into the foam pit on a dirt bike. So, got that to look forward to as well. So, yes, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the last couple shows. We've had some bangers, some great guests, and a lot of fun here on the show. But, this week, Chris Leone with Power Rankings. We got Tim Montana. Man, that's going to be a good one. And we've also got my good friend Keegan Kincaid, who absolutely slayed the championship off-road opener at Anago this past weekend, going 2 for 2 and just destroying that Pro 2 field. So great effort by Keegan Kincaid, and we're going to get into that and a whole lot more on today's show. All killer, no filler. That's for sure. So, we're going to take a short commercial break. We come back, Chris Leone and I, Power Rankings right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance responsiveness and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RZRLife to share your story.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
From the 2018 Master Distillers of the Year comes a bold new American whiskey and fistful of bourbon. Their whiskeys have been award-winning for generations. Now they're going all in on bourbon, blending 5 straight whiskeys to create a big balanced bourbon that stands apart from everything else. So grab yourself a fistful of bourbon, a blend of 5 bourbons created with over 100 years of whiskey blending experience. It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful. Please enjoy responsibly.
When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or @VisionWheel on social media to learn more.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Kicking off this hour, we got my good friend Chris Leone here. And Chris, we are going to jump right in out of the box into some power rankings for this week. I know we brought this back from the grave, I guess. I hate to say that, but for the first time here about a week ago. But I'm actually really excited about this power rankings. We got a little off-road in the mix, some Formula One, NASCAR had a road course. I don't know. I feel like last week was pretty awesome because we had the Indy 500, and we always kind of know how that goes. But this week there's some different stuff in the mix. So I'm kind of excited to roll into power rankings this week, buddy.
Yeah, not a lot of times that you get to mention Wisconsin, California, and Azerbaijan in the same breath, right?
I'm actually really stoked right now because I can't pronounce that. I just call it the Baku City Race, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. You actually rolled that out. I couldn't do that. I would butcher it. I just refer to that event as Baku City, and I think everybody gets it because nobody really wants to attempt to say that name like you did.
The one with the one wide corner. Yeah.
The other street course.
And then you ask which one, because there's 4 of them, right? It will certainly be interesting. But yeah, as you said, since I think we need to roll right into it with the segment breaks, we will go to Baku for number 5, and I am going to match car number with ranking and go with Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, a very interesting might be the way to phrase how that race unfolded towards the very end. And I've got to say that I feel bad for just about any tire supplier in motorsports, especially exclusive ones, because there's no winning, right? Speaking of no winning, I'm a Boston sports fan. My Bruins got eliminated last night, and how we treat Tuukka Rask in goal on our Bruins is how every tire supplier in motorsport gets treated, especially as an exclusive. There is no win. There is no doing anything right unless they are absolutely perfect all the time. And certainly that race wasn't spectacular when it comes to tires. My most controversial opinion is if you as a race team see something at the racetrack as it's happening that conflicts with your data, maybe you should take that into account. I know, kind of a novel concept, and people yelled at me on Twitter for saying it. But anyhow, the beneficiary of all that was Sebastian Vettel, who ends up on the podium for Aston Martin after all of the chaos and all of the carnage, and Max Verstappen having the blowout that he did, and Lewis Hamilton having the brake issues on the restart that he did. So, great weekend for those guys, especially, in the context of the other tire failure being Lance Stroll, who is Vettel's teammate at Aston Martin. So, big day for them. Certainly Sebastian was elated to get back on the podium, and we have to feel like there aren't too many of those left in his career. So certainly worth celebrating to see that. So Sebastian Vettel at number 5 for me.
And this is actually going to spur a bigger Formula One conversation, and we end up taking the whole segment for it. But I'm going to go to Baku City for my number 5 as well. I got no complaints with your number 5. I actually, for my number 5, once again, as in last week, I'm going with Red Bull Formula One, the team. Obviously, Perez with that victory, that's a big moment for his career. He needed that, I think. He's kind of been in the shadow of Verstappen for a while now, and but I had to go with Red Bull F1 because Verstappen had that race won. A few laps to go, he's leading, fluke tire failure, and now all of a sudden he finishes I think officially 18th, something like that. Tough break for them. I mean, but Red Bull Formula One has proved, especially in the last couple of rounds, like, they are bringing the fight. You know what I mean? They've got a team that can compete for this championship, and Verstappen, thankfully for him, Hamilton had problems, so he still retains the lead in the drivers' championship, and so that shootout that we're expecting is still going to be there. But I'm just looking down this entire race, and you mentioned Vettel. I'm looking at constructor point or driver standings, and another guy that pops out of my mind is Lando Norris, and he's sitting there fourth, and I don't know that anybody thought Norris would be sitting fourth in the drivers' championship, this deep into the season. So the thing is, Formula One this year, Chris, and obviously I had Red Bull F1 at 5, but I'm excited for the first time in a long time. You don't know what's going to happen on any given weekend. That podium isn't set. We've got 4 teams that are really, kind of front-running teams, 5-ish maybe. Like, I don't know. It's got me excited to tune in every week because the processional is gone. I mean, F1, these guys are driving, and they're driving the wheels off these cars, and we have a true battle, up front in Formula One. We haven't had this in a long time.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's... and it's funny that you mentioned that, and certainly Red Bull Racing as a team at number 5 is a worthy pick. And I think a lot of what this season is actually going to come down to is the battle between the second drivers at Red Bull and Mercedes, because this seems to be the most evenly matched that Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton have ever been, no doubt. The cars seem to have their various strengths and weaknesses, but as a whole, they tend to be on par with one another. So now it's a matter of which second driver is actually going to be able to take advantage of the situation that they're in and rise to the occasion. For years, that's been Valtteri Bottas. He's been able to pick off a couple of wins a year. We've seen some seasons where early on, he's seemed like, he might actually be a threat for the championship. He might pull a Nico Rosberg this year, but hasn't. And then gets to Baku and lays one of the biggest eggs, I think, of his career, certainly with Mercedes. Just did not have it for whatever reason. And certainly Lewis didn't in practice either, but Lewis, at the very least, was in contention for a podium to the very end. Sergio Perez, on the other hand, we thought was going to be the 11 billionth Red Bull second driver to fail out of that spot, because that seems to be what happens on that team. They go through them. They always have. But, now there's a second Red Bull driver who is able to consistently put it on or who seems like they could consistently put it on top of the podium for the first time since, the Vettel-Ricciardo days. They haven't really, it's always seemed like it's only one guy who can really win races with that team at any given time. And if Perez can do that, I mean, yes, he's going to be looked at as the number 2. He's always going to be looked at as the number 2 there because Max is the guy. But if Perez can consistently win a couple of races a year, I mean, I think that's what's expected of him at this point in his career. I mean, him winning with Racing Point last year in the first place was a lifeline of his career. I mean, everybody thought he was on his way out. People thought he was going to IndyCar. People thought, and then he ends up in Alex Albon's seat and has already proven in the end to be an upgrade there. But Red Bull's always had that issue, for quite some time now of getting a second driver who works as a second driver. And if Sergio Perez can do that, then, then we finally have a return to form for that team. For the first time, really. I mean, I said 2 winners were the Vettel-Ricciardo days, but in terms of form, maybe the Vettel-Mark Webber days even further back than that.
Man, we're going deep with that one. But, and it's funny, I'm going to bring the basketball analogy, and I think Formula One drivers have always struggled with this, and probably the one that accepted his role the most, and he's still one of the greats, but it was Rubens Barrichello. And I look at it like the Jordan Pippen thing. Pippen was still a Hall of Famer being in the shadow of Michael Jordan. He still put together a Hall of Fame career. And I think Formula One, these guys get overshadowed by greatness. And obviously, you know, Verstappen, you can't say he's one of the all-time greats, but he's got the makings of one of the all-time greats. Now, you know, I have no idea what the next 5 to 10 years are going to hold for him, so we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves. But I'm just saying, like, I can see the next 5 to 10 years, especially after Lewis bows out, you know, this being the Max Verstappen series, you know, and so it's tough to be in that second seat. It's tough to be in that role, but Perez can, you know, he could be a phenomenal driver there. He could learn a lot. He's going to win a lot of races. Is he going to win as many? Probably not. But, I mean, look at Ricciardo. I mean, he struggled with that. He went to another team. He's an afterthought now. Nobody even thinks about him. I mean, where's he at? 10th in the standings right now. He's sitting in 10th. And, I mean, Ricciardo's a phenomenal talent. He just, you know, I don't know. I get it. It sucks being the number 2 guy. But sometimes being the number 2 guy is a whole lot better than being the 10th guy like Ricciardo. So I don't know, Chris. It's weird. I get the struggle, but I don't know. Formula One, it's an interesting beast.
Oh, no doubt. No, it's, you know, and I think we see this stateside on 2 wheels too with Supercross and Pro Motocross, where you've had a lot of guys who have just been dominant, and, you know, the guys on those teams, those dominant teams, they seem to have a revolving door of number 2s behind them. And I don't know how much of it is those guys not being great at accepting the number 2 role, or teams putting the pressure on them that they have to equal the number 1 guy, or what it is. But in a lot of motorsports where you see factory programs like that, you know, you get that imbalance, and it's such a catch-22 for number 2 guys who don't know how to be number 2 guys.
All right, Chris. Well, we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be back after this on the Gentle Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver, Chris Leone here. We are going through our power rankings. We talked a little bit of Formula One at number 5, which means we got 4 spots left to go. And now with F1 out of the picture, it's going to be interesting to see the way our next 4 stack up, Chris. So who do you have sitting there at number 4 on your list?
So number 4, I am going to go with... I'm actually going to go to Pro Motocross, and I am going to go to Thunder Valley, and I'm going to go with Ken Roczen for the 1-1 in the 450 class. You know, we've had all sorts of different discussions about Ken Roczen over the years. Like, he's gotten hurt. He's had issues. He hasn't been able to win a Supercross title. You know, this thing, that thing, the other thing. We really beat down Ken Roczen, right? You know, we've always kind of done this, and we've done it with Tomac too, and Tomac finally got his Supercross title, so, you know, I think that quelled some of the criticisms, and yet now Eli Tomac is not going to be with Kawasaki next year, and I don't think we've seen an announcement on where he's going, so there's, you know, but Ken Roczen, I mean, he's one of those guys who has really gotten hammered year after year after year in the media for different things. He's gotten hurt, you know, can he be consistent enough? Can he win championships, you know, multiple championships? Can he win both indoor and outdoor titles? Whatever, you know, but all I see right now is a guy who took the 450 points lead in Colorado. He's one up on Dylan Ferrandis. They've got some cushion to Aaron Plessinger in third. Here's somebody who he's been building towards another championship for a long time. And we really thought that last year could have been the year. And I think with the gap because of COVID and just not being himself in the series of Salt Lake races that they did to finish out the year, kind of got one taken away from him a little bit. But somebody who, I think Ken Roxon's due again. So I've got him at my number 4.
You know what? And speaking of number 4, I had him completely slated in the exact same spot as you did, Chris. Ken Roxon 1-1 there at Thunder Valley in my number 4 spot. I mean, basically for all the reasons you did. And he was the only rider, that even got close to a sweep, in the 250s. I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was a 2 and a 4 that ended up clinching. So, I don't know, 1-1 in pro motocross, it's tough. It's really tough the way motocross does their scoring, because to win 2 main events is really hard. That's like winning 2 back-to-back Supercross races. And so, especially with the length and how grueling those motos are, I got to give Ken Roxon a lot of credit, or anybody who can pull off a win in pro motocross. But I had Roxon at number 4, just like you, Chris, which means we've got 3 left. Who do you have at number 3?
Well, Jim, this is kind of a cop-out because I'm putting a couple of people together at number 3, but they had equal weekends, basically. So gonna head to Antigo, Wisconsin for the championship off-road opener. And Brock Hager and CJ Greaves gonna tie them up at number 3 because both of them swept a pro truck class and both of them got one on the other in the pro stock side-by-side class. CJ Greaves, I mean, we've seen him dominate year after year in the Midwest, multiple different classes, swept the side-by-side classes last year in the championships, I believe, but didn't win that Pro 4 title. I think it was Kyle LeDuc that got it last year. So CJ said, all right, you know what? I'm going to dial it back on the UTV side of things. I'm going to focus on pro stock, and I am going to go get that Pro 4 crown back, and did exactly that. Or at least has started the season the way he needs to do that, sweeping both of those Pro 4 races. Then managed to get that first pro stock race. But Brock Hager, give him some credit, comes in from the West Coast. Obviously, the landscape has shifted yet again in short course racing. A lot of West Coast guys heading to the Midwest and committing to the full Champ Off-Road season. Brock comes in, sweeps Pro Light, comes in and manages to steal one from CJ in pro stock. CJ had won 7 out of 9 before Brock Hager got one in on him at Antigo. So, that is going to be a hell of a battle over the next few months as they try to fight those out. They seem like they're going to be the drivers to beat in their respective pro truck classes. So the pro stock side-by-sides is where they're going to even the score. So tie at number 3 for those guys.
Well, I somewhat similar at number 3 as you. I had CJ Greaves at number 3. Obviously mainly for his Pro 4 win. Pro 4 stack field the Midwest this year. And with CJ taking, I guess sweeping the weekend. And I think this is a tough one because none of these drivers had any data. They didn't have any setups. This is a track that hadn't been run in, I think, like a decade. So it's, I think it's tougher to get a win this weekend than it is on any other given weekend just because of the lack of data and things. But, just for all the reasons you said, I had CJ Greaves sitting at number 3 on my list, which makes me wonder if our number 2s and 1s are going to be the same too, Chris. Who do you have at number 2?
Yeah, I think that's pretty possible. I am going to go to Sonoma for number 2 with Kyle Larson. That's another one where I could have kind of done the whole team the way that you did with Red Bull Racing, because as we know, Hendrick Motorsports has been dominant lately. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 finish ever for a 4-car organization a few weeks ago. They've really, really hit on something. People are gonna probably make quite a bit out of the fact that Chase Elliott has kind of been the road course guy in NASCAR as of late, and Kyle Larson was able to get one on him, but Larson's been hot. He's won multiple races now this year. He got one in the bag pretty early in Vegas. He took the 600 where nobody could touch him. He took a road course. The first two tracks are obviously pretty similar because, mile and a halfs, and that's kind of NASCAR's bread and butter. But, you had a road course in there and you've got some diversity. If he takes another short track win, that'll be some diversity. They're a pretty dominant team right now over at HMS. So, and Kyle just happens to be the guy that is taking the biggest amount of advantage out of that. So Kyle Larson at number 2. I would imagine that he's not done winning before the playoffs. The real question will be once we get to the playoffs, if anybody has figured anything out on Hendrick and is able to close the gap any.
Yeah, well, and once again, you and I, same page here. I had Larson at number 2, and not only did he win, obviously he's had 3 wins within a week. I think, he took the World of Outlaws win. Also took, obviously the victory, at the Coca-Cola 600. So Larson, he's on a roll here, Chris, and he's kind of just a scary guy when he gets the momentum he had. But not only did he win at Sonoma, he swept the entire race. Won all the stages as well as the finale. So you got to give him a lot of credit for the full sweep of the weekend. So yes, Kyle Larson, number 2 on my list, which makes me wonder if we're going back to Anago for our number 1.
I am not. I am actually not going back to Anago for my number 1. I am going back to Baku, and I'm going to give it to Sergio Perez. Just because, you know what? I mean, and we kind of covered this in the other segment, but, that was a huge win for him. Just like the first win of his career last year for Racing Point was a huge win for him. It's just... like we've talked about, whichever team out of Mercedes and Red Bull is able to get their second driver firing on the cylinders that they need him to fire on, that's going to be the team that wins the team's championship, and I think it's going to be the team that also wins the driver's championship. Both Max and Lewis, for each other's sake, were lucky that they both ended up out of the points. Max had to be breathing a huge sigh of relief, as PO'd as he undoubtedly was, when he saw Lewis go off track, with the brake issues on the restart. But, for Sergio to be able to just hold on was crucial. It was crucial in that Constructors' Championship. And knowing that he's going to be, it seems like, a bigger threat to take some more podiums right now than Valtteri Bottas is. And I think Bottas is dealing with the pressure of probably his inevitable replacement with, we got to think it's going to be George Russell sooner than later here. It's a pressure cooker for F1. Like you said, it is going to be a very exciting season. But yeah, no, it's funny that we've now delivered a list of some big differences, and we're going to be going, or some big similarities, and we're going to have the biggest difference of all at number 1.
Yeah, and with number 1, I got to go with our guest this week, Keegan Kincaid. Obviously, swept the weekend there at Anago. Took 2 first-place finishes in Pro 2. Obviously, we saw, C.J. Greaves with a couple of victories, like you'd mentioned, Brock Hager. But Keegan Kincaid, Pro 2 is the it division this year in short course. Keegan, has said, and everybody that runs in Pro 2 has said, this is the biggest, most stacked Pro 2 field probably in the history of short course. So to come out swinging in the very first event and, sweep the weekend, taking, 2 first-place finishes, I had to go with Keegan Kincaid at the number 1 on my list, Chris. But that being said, Chris, we're up against the time break, and it's time to take a short commercial break. We'll be back after this on the Gentle Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'd like to welcome good friend Keegan Kincaid to the show. Keegan, man, short course has officially been kicked off in the Midwest to start 2021, man, and I guess this is we got a lot to talk about here because new-ish track, I guess new to the calendar this year, but it's older track. Your program, though, man, you guys came out swinging 2 for 2 this weekend. You got to be pretty stoked.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. We finally got back to some off-road racing. Got a newly updated Pro 2 ready on the track. Antigo, Wisconsin. It was a beautiful facility. I think the last time I raced there was 2012, and that was actually my first pro light win. But they've had an absence there for a while, and the Lions Club approached the series, and they made it happen. And the race was awesome. The facility was good. We had blacktop pits. The fans packed the stands. It felt like a normal year again, and I couldn't be happier. The truck performed flawlessly, and we were on the top spot both days.
Well, and I guess I want to talk a little bit about the track. I want to talk about your truck, but something like this is kind of one of everybody goes to Crandon. Everybody's got their setups. Everybody kind of knows what to expect. I mean, a guy like you probably has a little bit of an edge over some of the West Coast guys coming in, things like that. But stuff's widely out there. You know what I mean? If you've got friends, you can get some help, things like that. Going to Antigo, like you said, last time you raced there was Pro Light. I mean, we're talking a decade ago at this point. Like, everybody coming in here is fresh. It's like clean slate. You know what I mean? So that how does that approach with you guys? Because I mean, you don't really have a lot to rely on, right?
Yeah, no. They basically built the track from scratch. It's a typical. I don't know if you remember the Charlotte, Chicago half-mile oval. Going into the infield, little dog leg in the infield. So it was nothing that we've really, raced on before. So it was kind of an equal playing field, which is kind of cool. Most times, we can get some practice at Crandon or Bark River. Well, it went back to the days of, hey, you show up, you get your 2 practices, who can tune the best, and get things ready to go for the race. And we made some good adjustments, from the short practices that we did have there, and they paid off, and we led the first day, led basically from the get-go. We started outside pole and got the whole shot early, and truck was just running flawless, and so we got the win there. And then the second day, it was definitely, we had to work for it. The classes in Champ Off-Road have been stacked. Pro 2 is probably the toughest Pro 2 class that off-road has seen in a really long time. Jarrett Brooks and Corey Winter and Kleiman and Ryan Beat and Deegan was there. And, just there's probably 8 to 10 guys that can win any day, Mickey Thomas. And so we knew we had to come prepared. And the last year, we got the win right away, but we weren't officially prepared. And so we made sure we did our homework and we're ready to go. And we made a little bit of changes throughout the weekend that were good and came out on top both days. For us, we usually struggle at tracks like that, setup wise, maybe myself, but, we turned it around and got 2 wins, and now we come back to my hometown track in a few weeks.
Well, and I think, that's something to say. You said probably one of the most stacked Pro 2 fields in recent memory, and I'd say arguably, I don't want to throw the history thing out there, but it's a deep, deep field, man. And, for you to come out and go 2 for 2 like that, a lot of people be like, oh, man, it puts a little pressure off your shoulders. And I look at it going, man, you probably got to feel some added pressure. You're the points leader now. And now you got to follow up that, effort where you sweep the weekend. I mean, how you feeling going into Crandon? Obviously, hometown track, you know what I mean? You know Crandon as good as anybody. But, how you feeling about, about the next round?
And going into Antigo initially, was my thought is we got to be consistent, come out of there. Recently to Torque, they have done, or to Champ Off-Road, they have changed it to points. So they invert off a point. So we qualified for the first day since we didn't have any points. But after this, they invert off of your points. So you draw 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way to 10. So you can get inverted 10 if you draw a 10. Well, so it's important to be within that invert. And so that was my thought process going into there. It's like, hey, we cannot DNF. We got to stay into this hunt, going for the championship. And I guess 2 for 2 is pretty consistent, but I'm excited going into Crandon. I feel really comfortable at that track. Although we didn't perform really, really well the last time we were there. So we need a little redemption, and it's always a little added pressure with when you're in the points lead. I necessarily don't like it, but it's a good position to be in, and so it's a long year yet. It's important to be consistent, limit those DNFs, try not to have any. A DNF could take you out of the hunt for the whole year, and I look forward to getting to Crandon.
And that's something you talk about, the DNFs and things like that. Years past, when the Pro 2 field's a little bit lighter, you've got room for, you don't want to say room for mistake, but if you have a really bad race, something like that, you cut a tire, get taken out, something, it's like, we still got a shot at this thing. But, what is there, 18 drivers that showed up for Antigo? I mean, that's a stacked field. I mean, you almost know somebody, you don't want to say is going to have the perfect season, but somebody is going to run top 5 all year long, and not have one of those mistakes. Yeah. So it makes it even tougher when you have a field this deep, because, those little mistakes you might be able to get away with the last couple of years, man, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. It's important to, it goes off to, basically in between these races, it's all preparation and making sure your equipment is top notch and trying to limit DNFs. I mean, there's some things out of your control, but it's about preparation and being prepared, and and that's what we've really done. With myself and the team. I thought last year second place sucks, and so it's kind of a redemption thing where I put myself on the chopping block and the race truck, so it's something that needed to be changed, and I'm happy with where we ended up. So with 18 Pro 2s, something that was crazy is they told us the numbers of how many racers are there, and they actually had more entries at Antigo than they did at Fall Crandon last year.
Wow.
So the sport has grown, and I'm excited to get back there and see what happens at Fall Crandon. Now that means there's probably even more coming. I know RJ's coming to race, and so this is going to be a year that people remember and they don't want to forget. So.
Yeah, it's definitely some special stuff working. I want to talk a little bit about your program. So we're talking about sport as a whole, and short course, especially in the Midwest, in a really, really good position. But your team, I mean, you got to be really excited too, Keegan. I mean, you got some really cool stuff working with your team. Obviously, I know, you've got that Pro 4. You guys are program you're working on that you're hoping to debut at Fall Crandon for the Cup race. You got your new semi-hauler. Obviously, I know, you expanded program. I know Lucas Oil came on board with your program. You've got to be pretty excited, because your program, you're in a better spot this year than you have been in a long time with your program.
Yeah, there was a lot of work put into the off season, and we kind of acquired a Pro 4 chassis. And the original plan was to get it ready to race for a full season, but where things put us and the timing of parts and a couple different things, we decided to race the Pro 2 for a championship. And so far it's paid off, but we are getting that Pro 4 ready for Fall Crandon, maybe for a Bark River outing, depending how comfortable we feel in it. But specifically for Fall Crandon, a Pro 4, hopefully go win us a Cup race in the Pro 4. But yeah, we acquired a brand new, we purchased, Jamie Flannery and myself helped purchase all of Traxxas's short course program. So we basically bought trucks and trailers. So we acquired a brand new Featherlight, new awning. Lucas Oil came on board. That's been a huge help to my program. It's basically allowed me to take my program to the next level so I can do things that I've never been able to. And whether it's in the pits or on the race program, getting this Pro 4 out for Fall Crandon, allowing me to get more content out there. It's just been a huge help for myself, my team, my program, even my family. And I'm appreciative of them. Lucas, Vision Wheel, Cooper Tire, well, those two have been with me for the majority of my career. And they've been when it's been my worst. And, now hopefully we can keep growing and continue this and take this program to the next level.
And here's a question. You've been around the sport, your family has, for a real long time. I mean, you go back to Antigo, and obviously your dad had raced there in the past. Obviously, he sees the speeds of the trucks. He sees what you're doing. I mean, what's your dad's take on short course? I'm kind of curious because I haven't talked to your dad in a while, but what's his take on short course and the speeds and the technology? And you're talking about taking your stuff to the next level. I mean, what's his input on this whole craziness?
Yeah, where he came from, when it all started in the late 80s, early 90s to what it is now is pretty crazy and fascinating to me because, he's been at it since almost the beginning to what it is today. And he's really passionate about the sport and building trucks. And, I think he's beyond the point of driving anymore. He doesn't have that urge to race, but yet he's passionate about building off-road trucks, helping my program, taking it to the next level, innovating like on our Pro 4, designing and building new parts and new front ends and new rear ends and just trying, we continue to innovate. And that's what, my dad is just an innovator. He likes to take things to the next level, and you got to try things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But if you don't do it, you'll be left behind. And my dad is passionate. He really enjoys the sport and coming with me to the racetrack and being a part of it. And, it's a family sport, and it's good to be on his side. So,
yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, we a couple weeks out from Crandon. What's the next couple of weeks look like for you? Because obviously, the two Crandon events, not taking anything away from any of the other events on the calendar. I know Bark River's got an anniversary event this year, and ERX is always well attended. But heading into Crandon, this is one of the two big ones, man. We've got the brush run, and we've got the community cup race. I mean, what's it look like for you guys and the team the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we're now that we got through this first weekend and it went well, we can finally, prepare some things that needed to be done, on the trailer and get some stuff going, make some adjustments on the Pro 2, hopefully do a test here in between, Antigo and Crandon, get some more testing in, trying some different stuff. And ultimately we're starting to work on that Pro 4 and staying busy that way. So it's always something, just being prepared. And Crandon's going to put on 2 great events, and I'm excited. I that's probably one of my favorite events to go to is the both Crandons, and just for the hospitality, the fans, my family. It's my hometown track. They do a great job of that, and there's been some good upgrades there, and we look forward to getting there and getting on the track and seeing all the fans and family again. So we're ready.
Yeah. Now the most important question of the day. I mean, is the party happening in group therapy Sunday after the event if Keegan wins?
Oh yeah, for sure. If we pull off a cup race win here in the spring, I'm sure we'll be having some fun again. And it's been fun because I'm good friends with Doug Matag and all these guys that I have finally that have been on the West Coast for the last couple of years are finally coming here. And so Doug Matag's here with the Stronghold group and all them. It makes for a fun. We're competitors on the track, but in the end, we're still friends, and we like to go have fun. And we got some go-karts. I recently purchased 15 carts that, Doug Matag and all these guys, we're going to have some fun on the off weekends and just mess around. But, I look forward to spring Crandon, and hopefully we can come away with a couple more wins, and a cup win would be some way to start the beginning of the year. So, but we'll be ready.
Awesome. Well, Keegan, always fun catching up, my friend. Good luck. I will be out at Crandon. We'll see you there in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to seeing the upgrades of the facility and seeing if you can continue on with the winning ways, buddy.
Thanks, Jim. Yep. We'll talk to you later.
And we'll be back with more after this on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
From the 2018 Master Distillers of the Year comes a bold new American whiskey and fistful of bourbon. Their whiskeys have been award-winning for generations. Now they're going all in on bourbon, blending 5 straight whiskeys to create a big balanced bourbon that stands apart from everything else. So grab yourself a fistful of bourbon, a blend of 5 bourbons created with over 100 years of whiskey blending experience. It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful. Please enjoy responsibly.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Man, what an hour number one. What an interview with Keegan Kincaid. Power Rankings, Chris Leone. Man, we dove some deep into some Formula One talk there for a bit. I don't do that very often, but man, I'm feeling really good about this show today, and truthfully, I am actually feeling even better about hour number 2 because ... Yes, we have Tim Montana. Dude, I mean, he is just a bad SOB. Let's put it that way. I mean, he's a great musician. He's written for Kid Rock, ZZ Top, Travis Tritt, you name it. This guy, he's a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of country, and a whole lot of fun. He's going to be our guest. He loves to drink whiskey, loves to have a good time, and really looking forward to having Tim on the show. Man, just great hour number 1. Keegan Kincaid, what more can you say? Chris kind of hit the nail on the head. Talking about Keegan, it's here's a guy who upped his program over the offseason. He had a phenomenal 2020, and then it's like, how do you get better? Well, you do what Keegan did. And what is that? I don't know, but he's made it work. Obviously, can't wait to see him going into Pro 4, and that's going to be really exciting to watch him back in a Pro 4 in 2022. That's and I think he's going to bring it out at Crandon for the big race Labor Day weekend. So we won't have to wait all the way until 2022 to see that. We're going to get to see that. Get a preview, get a sneak preview here towards the end of this season. So definitely looking forward to that. Keegan, just a stand-up dude and all-around good guy. And hopefully I'm going to be at Crandon here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you guys are too. Would definitely love to meet some of the listeners to the show and fans of short course, man. Let's talk some off-roading out at Crandon. Whoa, show. Maybe have a beer and some cheese curds. But anyways, we're going to take a short commercial break. We come back. Hour number 2 is going to be upon us. I'll kick things off, and then it's going to be me and Tim Montana for the duration right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
And welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, kicking off hour number 2. That is right, hour number 2, and what are we, like, episode... I can't even remember what episode. Are we in the 4 or the 500s? Anyways, yes, hour number 2. We've done a hell a ton of, is that even a word, hell a ton of radio at this point, and continuing to get things cranking. I know all my friends are down there at the Baja 500 doing some pre-running, eating some tacos, and most definitely drinking some beer. And I definitely would love to be south of the border, but I am not. I am going to go do some UTV stuff up at Pirates Cove Resort this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that, playing on the river, having some fun in some UTVs. So I'm going to miss the Baja 500, but trust me, I'm going to be having some fun. But we will have a full recap next week of the Baja 500. Probably, most likely, have some winners on the show as well. But, yes, Baja 500, kind of the big one this weekend. Also, we've got, the Detroit doubleheader at Detroit happening this weekend in IndyCar as well. NHRA, I think Chris Leone, who was on the show earlier, he will actually be at NHRA there in New England. He's a Bostonian, so, he gets to go play when they get to the East Coast. And, so lots going on this weekend for me and for everybody else. And then about a week out, I head out to the East Coast to Pastrana Land. I'm going to go hang out with my boy Street Bike Tommy, Hubert, Travis, and have a little fun at Pastrana Land. So anything you want behind the scenes at Pastrana Land, you want to know about, whatever, hit me up. I would love to either find out, ask questions, whatever. But you guys have any ideas, anything you want to see here, whatever from Pastrana Land, let me know, and we will most definitely get those cycled into the show for sure, and probably social media as well. So big couple of weeks for me, and then obviously Crandon being the big one out there. I guess second biggest short course race of the year, biggest one being Labor Day Crandon, but they've got the Community Cup that happens in the spring. They call it spring, but it's actually summer. I don't know. I guess technically it's a spring because I don't know. It's it's right borderline, right? But yeah, it's hot. I call it summer Crandon, but yeah. Anyways, I'm rambling on a whole lot of nothing, but we got Tim Montana coming up, and that's the important thing right after this break, right here on the Gentle Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
From the 2018 Master Distillers of the Year comes a bold new American whiskey and fistful of bourbon. Their whiskeys have been award-winning for generations. Now they're going all in on bourbon, blending 5 straight whiskeys to create a big balanced bourbon that stands apart from everything else. So grab yourself a fistful of bourbon, a blend of 5 bourbons created with over 100 years of whiskey blending experience. It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful. Please enjoy responsibly.
Looking to have some fun on 4 wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
All right, so this is going to be a fun one today. I'd like to welcome my brother from another, Mr. Tim Montana, to the show. Tim, what is happening, brother?
Oh, not too much. Thanks for having me. We are got back to Nashville, Tennessee, where it feels like it's been raining for the last 6 months. But we're here, baby. We're here.
So I got to ask you, dude, I'm going to put you on the spot. You told me last week you were going to a writer's retreat. And I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you, the first thing that popped in my head when I heard Tim Montana on a writer's retreat, I'm getting flashes of like a hippie commune and like people just smoking weed around a campfire or something like that. What the hell is a writer's retreat, dude?
Well, that's not too far off. Except we're in a beach house down Myrtle's Inlet, Myrtle Beach area. one of those houses up on stilts, and then we brought 5 of the bigger songwriters in Nashville out, guys. You know, one of the guys with us has had 42 number ones as a producer, songwriter in country music, and then all of them respectively have had a handful of ginormous hits, and we all get in the same room, and we'll split up actually for the first half of the day, and I'll bounce back and forth between 2 different rooms, get the idea going, hop to the next room, tell them, let's fix that word, I wouldn't say that way, and then at the end of the night is fun where the drinks start flowing, and then all 6 of us come into the same room. And last time we got 4 cuts out of this writer's retreat. So we got a Travis Tritt single, we got 2 songs on my album, and then another song I can't talk about yet that'll be out in July. But so heck, if we get one good song out of it, it was worth it.
Well, you know what's interesting to me about this whole thing, and like I'm dumb when it comes to music industry. Obviously, you and I become friends. I got a few other friends that are in the industry. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about it, but one thing I've always found really cool, especially like you. I mean, you mentioned Travis Tritt. I know you've written for him. You've done some stuff with Kid Rock, with ZZ Top. I love the fact that the music industry, there might be a song that you know is good, but it might not be good for Tim Montana. So it's like, hey, this is good for another buddy of mine. He should sing this, and like you guys kind of help each other. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that I've always found pretty cool. It's not really I know there are people in it that are selfish, but it seems to me like it's not really a selfish industry. You guys are just all about the love of music.
Yeah, whatever helps the song get heard, and whoever's the best vessel for that. And that Smoke in a Bar, the Travis Tritt single, is his first single in 13 years, just came out about 2 months ago, and his record dropped, I think, Friday. Set in stone, a full-length record, but we had it on hold for me, but it was talking about a seatbelt was a backup for Mama's right arm when the world turns slower and you could smoke in a bar. And I was like, man, it feels like someone looking back on their career and kind of reflecting. And I just took a shot and texted it to Travis Tritt, and next thing I know, he absolutely fell in love with it and recorded it. And I'm like, there you go. And I was like, in a few years, if I want to cut it too, I can, but it just felt right to have Travis, and he was so excited about it. And every interview he does, he name drops me, which he totally does not have to do that. That's just what kind of guy Travis Tritt is. He's a good old boy,
He's definitely been around, man. I don't know. I just find this whole thing just pretty damn awesome. But I guess I want to go back to with you because this is kind of, we're going to talk about a lot. You've just had a lot of shit happen. You just dropped an album. I mean, things are blowing up for you. I kind of want to go back and tell a little bit of the Tim Montana story just because I don't know your full story, so this is just me as a buddy wanting to know the full story. But I mean, you've got interesting upbringings in Montana. I know you grew up in in a trailer, didn't have electricity. I mean, take us back to the beginning, and then how the hell you found music and got where you're at? Because I think this is, I know bits and pieces of it, man. But looking through the window, like I want to know the whole picture here because I think your story is pretty different than a lot.
Yeah. So I was born in the Flathead Valley in 1985. Had pretty interesting going issues, stepdad issues, birth father issues. Ultimately, those guys went away. So I blame it on mother's love for having me still here today. But we went off the grid when I was probably 5 or 6 up in Kyla, Montana. And we were way the hell out there. I went and tried to find that house about a year or 2 ago, and I couldn't find it, and I got lost. And I was like, how did we do this every day of our lives? Getting out there, just tons of snow, and we'd start the generator on Sundays. But when we went off the grid, the TV went off. All, basically forms of communication with the outside world. We had a telephone for a while, and we cut it off. But so I never got to watch TV. So my wife still gets mad whenever she brings up TV shows from that era, the 90s. Because I missed all that. I missed all the pop culture, so I don't get a lot of references to the 90s. But I got a guitar, and I had a lantern in my room, and every night when it got dark, I'd turn that lantern on, and I'd play my guitar, and I'd just make up these little songs. And my mom always made sure I had a guitar and a little CD player, and she would just bring me home CDs. We had a pawn shop / gun shop in town, and she'd always bring me home these CDs, and my mom was like super religious. And CDs she brought me were like Tool Undertow. She had no idea what it was or what I was listening to. And I remember this distinct memory of in this cabin off the grid, it's pitch dark, and I put in my headphones to listen to this creepy album she brought me. It had like a pig on the inside with forks sticking out of it, and I was mortified. And I put it on, and there's a hidden track on there where some dude is like reading fake scripture or something. And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, had nightmares for weeks. And I was like, Mom, where are you getting these CDs? She's like, oh, from the pawn shop. I figure you'd enjoy it, Timmy. You love music, right? And I'm like, this is probably some satanic shit, Mom. But, she always did her best to make sure I had music and a guitar. And, so I grew up till I was about 17 in that kind of environment. And as time went on, we got solar panels, so we got a little more electricity, but we were never on the grid. So the solar, would be it would run in the afternoons. We could charge batteries up and then run the TV. And at that point, I didn't really care about TV, nor did I want to be around my stepdad at all. He's an asshole. So I would find myself outside riding my four-wheeler. Right, had a little Honda CT70, man, that I would just take up mountains. And then had a 1976 John Deere Liquefier 440 snowmobile that I put crazy miles on. And I love that thing. So it was either go fast or play guitar.
So you graduated high school, right? And then you moved to L.A. That had to have been a hell of a shell shock for a kid that was off the grid in Montana, man.
Oh, it was terrifying. I got a apartment on Hollywood Boulevard right behind the Chinese theater there. You know where that's at?
I was there 2 years ago, right before the pandemic hit. I spent some time there. I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, so I was right there on Sycamore, and I was so excited because the same apartment Guns N' Roses used to live in. And I'd always tell the guy down at Hollywood Liquors, I'll be famous someday. And he's like, man, his name was, what the hell is his name? I think it was Juan. He's like, the last guy to tell me that was Axl Rose. And I was like, oh, no way. So we lived there, but my roommates were like, I had never had a microwave at this point. And, of course, we're living off ramen noodles and microwavable Hot Pockets because we were so poor. And I'd be putting forks in the microwave and all kinds of shit. There'd be lightning bolts coming out of it. And they're just like, dude, are you a caveman? And I was like, well, and I'd also never use the dryer or I didn't know how to use the weirdest things. And to this day, my wife still will not let me heat up baby bottles for our daughter. She's like, you still get defeated by a microwave every time. Why do you think you'd heat that bottle up for 3 minutes? I'm like, I don't know. It just feels right.
3's a good number.
Melted afterwards.
So
LA was definitely a culture shock, and I tried so hard to play rock and roll in LA, and everybody's like, Montana, that's country as shit. And I'm just like, no, it's not. I grew my hair out. I got a skateboard, and I used to skateboard down Hollywood Boulevard with baggy jeans. Didn't want anyone to know I was from the woods, and grew up wearing Carhartts. Just hit it so hard. And every time I started a hard rock band, everyone would be like, dude, there's something really country about your vibe. I was like, hell no, bro. I'm rock and roll as shit.
Yeah. And so, all this is going on, right? And then all of a sudden you moved to Tennessee, right? Didn't you end up uprooting and moving to Tennessee somehow through this process, right?
Yeah, I walked into school one day, Musicians Institute, Hollywood, California, and there's a cardboard cutout of this bigger fella who was clearly blind, and my older brother's blind, and his name was Johnny Highland. He was wearing a cowboy hat and a Fender Telecaster. I'm like, who's this goofy-looking dude? And so I went to his little live workshop, LPW, whatever they called it, live player workshop, and saw him play guitar, and my jaw dropped. Because he wasn't using pedals and he wasn't using any effects, and he was faster than Eddie Van Halen and didn't even seem to be trying. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's called chicken picking, buddy. Come on down to Nashville. And I was like, oh shit, maybe I'll put the cowboy hat back on. That's cool as hell. So moved to Nashville, chasing him down, and moved into his neighborhood so I could drive him around, because he couldn't drive. And he kind of got me plugged in, produced my first album in Nashville, and then I put together what I call world tour in 2008, which meant I had 3 shows in the state of Montana, and a nasty old van, and somehow divine intervention, Mr. David Letterman showed up and put me on the Late Show with David Letterman, and that changed my life pretty quick because it just gave me, it didn't financially put me in a situation where I was comfortable at all, but it gave me a taste of that. This is what the big time's like. I remember being in that studio and seeing the bands that played there, and then being on national TV. And, I think it really helped me keep pushing to this day, because that was 12, 13 years ago that happened.
Well, and don't go anywhere, because trust me, we got a whole lot more with my good friend Tim Montana. We return here to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Got my very good friend Tim Montana on the show this week, and we're going to jump right back to this interview where we left off right before the break, talking about what put him on the grid. Put you on the grid. I mean that yeah. Obviously you get that break, you're there, but everybody kind of knows who you are after that. It's like, who the hell is this guy? What just happened? You get that mainstream exposure, and there's a lot of people, that are fans that might have heard of you, but all of a sudden you hit that, and it's people that didn't know who the hell Tim Montana was, and all of a sudden, they know exactly who you are.
Yeah, so that was cool, and that was all Dave himself, man. He gave me that opportunity. He came out and showed up at the table and held my daughter, and he had his fiance there, and he just picked my brain about growing up off the grid. Of course, my mom's there. She's my biggest fan. Oh, Dave, ask me about how he grew up off the grid. Oh, he had a lantern? Oh, my goodness. I'm like, Mom, shut up.
They don't need to know this. It's funny. Right. I look at your career, dude, and obviously you've put yourself in these positions to be successful and meet these amazing people. But, I mean, there's things like Letterman, and that happened. You talked about Johnny Hyland, and that happened. And then, obviously you've got the whole Boston Red Sox thing that happened in, 2013, when your song became, like, the theme for the freaking World Series run that year and stuff like that. And then you guys end up doing, like, a special cut just for the Sox. Yeah, we did a music video, and that's how I met Billy Gibbons. I just had this, what is that? They say luck is preparation and skill. Or is that how that saying goes? Meeting at the same time, and that's what they call luck. Yeah. But that song, I had a verse and a chorus. This beer came here to party. These boots came here to stomp. And I walked into a hair salon in Nashville, and this lady said, "You look like ZZ Top." And I'm like, "Well, I had $1 for every time I heard that." And she goes, "I know somebody that knows Billy Gibbons." And I was like, "I had $1 for every time I heard someone that said that." And so she got a hold of just the verse chorus and somehow got it to him. A guy named Tom Vickers. And Billy just shows up in Nashville. We record the song. He lets me film it. And I'm just like, holy crap, that's Billy Gibbons, man. This is insane. And I'm like, if I never see him again, that's fine. I just got to spend a day with my hero. And he went to some dinner, and some guy walked up and was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a song for the Boston Red Sox. They're growing their beards out." And Billy and I don't know much about sports. And he's like, "Well, man, check this CD out." Gave it to him, and like 2 weeks later, we're on the front page of USA Today. Just crazy, weird how that happened. So. Well, and at that point, that spiraled for you guys. So you didn't you end up opening for a while for ZZ Top on tour? Yeah, I've done, I think, 30-some concerts as direct support for ZZ Top. We did the North American Hellraisers tour. I remember the first thing Billy put me on was the Ryman Auditorium, and that was when he sent me that text. I'm like, oh, my God, I get to play the original Grand Ole Opry House with ZZ Top tonight, sold out. That was one of those tearjerker moments where I'm like, holy cow, I grew up listening to those guys in that little CD player in a trailer house in Elk Park, and now I'm on the front page of USA Today and playing the Ryman, and it was unbelievable. And this weekend, another crazy moment. They're honoring Billy Gibbons at the Grand Ole Opry, and they've got Eric Church and Dwight Yoakam and Billy Bob Thornton and Travis Tritt, and man, the list is insane. And they asked me, Billy called and said, "I want you on it."
And I'm like, yes, sir. And he's like, I want you to play this Beard Came Here to Party, and then I want you to walk out with me and lead LaGrange. And then Brad Paisley and everyone will come out with us.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So last night, I go to bed at 9:30. I'm trying to be a good boy whenever I have big weeks like this. I'm like, ain't no boozing, ain't no messing around. We're running every day. We're training, vocal training. My wife wakes up to pee at like 2, and I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm wide awake. She's like, why? And I'm like, 'cause I'm on the Grand Ole Opry stage in my head right now with Travis Tritt. He's like, you need a melatonin, you psycho.
If it's funny, you're like me because I've had nothing near like your level of fame, but like there's these things that happen, and you look, and I go, I just tell everybody, oh, I'm just that dork from Parker, and they're like, no, and I'm like, no, I'm just that fucking dork from Parker, and I feel like you're still that kid from Montana. And you're like it just like I have this disconnect. Like I'll be on stage somewhere in front of people or doing something with certain people that I've idolized, and I'm like there's a disconnect. I'm like, I'm here, but I'm not really here. Like, how the hell did I get where I'm at? Because I can't still put it together,
Yeah, there's that thing, and you talk to some people, managers, people in the business, you need to own it. I belong here. But I don't know. That's not my personality. I think when you get to that point is when egos take over. And I think you always need to have that, oh, my God, how did I get here? And remember that trailer house or remember that little town you grew up in. Type deal. And for me, it's definitely that. I'm just like kind of pinch myself like, holy shit, how did this happen? And why am I on that list and not the next guy that's more talented than me, has more fans than me, whatever. And it's like, well, there's a reason I'm there. So you got to have a little bit of that, but also a little bit of appreciation for the moment. And wow, this, so I was talking to Danielle, my wife, and I'm like, this might be one of the bigger shows I've played, other than, Letterman's up there. But if you look at the, getting on stage with Brad Paisley and Eric Church at the Opry, I mean, that's going to be nuts. So,
yeah, that's massive. I mean, that's not to put pressure on you, but I'm just like, holy shit! I wish I was there to watch this, man. Like that's crazy. Talk about a star-studded cast. That's rad. Definitely looking forward to hearing how this.
Yeah,
one
Ronnie
goes.
Millsap's on it too. I'm just like, wow. Every time I read through it, and they keep adding more. And there's going to be surprise guests. There's going to be another guest I'm not supposed to speak of, but he may be the biggest name in country music.
Wow.
A guy from Oklahoma. That's my last hint. There's just a rumor he'll be there, but hey, I'll take the roster as is. Whoever else wants to show up. If your name rhymes with Darth Mook, I'm totally fine with it.
Oh hell! So I want to, dude. I got so many bullet points I want to hit on, but how the hell did you get linked up with Street Bike Tommy? I mean, he's who introduced us, and I love Tommy to death. He's a dear friend of mine. I know you're buddies with TP. You've done one of your songs there, "Do It Fast," over there at Pastrana Land. But you're going back. I had to rewatch today because it had been a long time since I've seen it. But I know the first thing I ever saw with Tommy and you was what. Was it Hillbilly Rich a few years back where you guys did that video and Tommy was in his big black suit and got his ass kicked?
Yep. It was Rob, the guy that killed Bin Laden, the Navy SEAL, and then Street Bike Tommy, my band, and then a friend of mine who's a veteran down in Tampa that's lucked out as a defense contractor and has massive super yachts and helicopter landing pads. He's like, sure, come over, shoot your video. Tommy's like, wow, what's this guy do for a living? I'm like, defense. But, so I met Tommy. Butte, Montana, my hometown, is where is Evel Knievel's hometown and the guy that killed Bin Laden's hometown. And I'd played Evel Knievel days for years. It was like my world tour, one of my stops on my world tour in Montana. And so one year I'm up there, and I knew the Nitro Circus crew was coming. Travis came, Tommy came, and Tommy had that huge beard. I had a big beard. I just went up to him, and we just started partying. We had this little after party at Headframe Spirits, a local Butte distillery. And he came up to the house and saw the property. And then I met Travis and realized these guys are really cool. They're like the salt of the earth people, and crazy, obviously. And I have a little bit of that wild craziness in me as well. So, we hit it off, and then I remember Tommy was like, man, I think you should check out Traeger Grills. They're doing cool stuff, so they got a grill sent to my house. So he's one of those friends, some people in this industry are like, oh, this is mine, stay away from that. Other people are like, hey, this would be really good for you to come on board. I think you put a little gas on this. And so he's done that a lot for me, where he's put me in, some really cool situations. And Traeger's one of the, I think 5 or 6 years I've been with that company now. repping them and cooking on their grills and making content. And that was all Street Bike Tommy, man. Just hooking me up with those guys. And then meeting Pastrana, and we did the Hillbilly Rich video. And then Travis put that in the Action Figures Part 2 movie, I believe. He sings it at the end. And then when it came time to shoot American Thread, Travis flew up to Montana. He had one day off, and of course he shows up in Montana. Of course it's 0 degrees and the highways are shut down for ice. And of course we just mobbed right through it in the middle of the night. I'm like, look at those semis crashed everywhere. And we filmed this rad music video at my mom's house. And I'll never forget my mother being like, now what was your name again, Travis who? And can you write down what you do for fame? I'm like, Mom, that's not a normal question. And Trav just put X Games, Travis Pastrana on a piece of notepaper. It's funny as heck. And then we did Do It Fast, so they become, family. And I think we all have that wild sense where other musicians are like, leave me alone, I'm an artist. I'm like, no, set the stage on fire. I think that shit's rad.
It's funny with Trav because he and I, 17, I think it was 2017, we had this program with Polaris called Star Car where these celebrities would come in and race with me. And me and Jolene Van Butte, it was kind of our program. And then Trav obviously came in and did one of the races, and it was Vegas to Reno. And I don't know if you've ever been around Nevada, but dude, there's some places there where it's just, you want to talk about hillbilly. Like, you don't want to be there after dark by yourself because you don't know what the hell's going to happen or where these people are coming from, right? And so
and that highway between Reno and Vegas.
Oh, dude.
Ooh, that old alien brothel down there. That's creepy.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's this town called Gabbs, like an old mining town, and this race ran through it, and it's 30 miles down a one-way road to get to this town. There's only one way in and one way out. 30 miles down this thing, and our car broke down there, and we will get to this full story, I promise. But, yes, we got to pump the brakes. We got to take a short commercial break. Those of you who want to hear this interview uncut in its entirety, it is over on Project Action on Podcast One. You can hear it, and all the filler, everything else that's cut out of it, you'll be able to get it all uncut. But, yes, Tim Montana coming back after the break right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance responsiveness and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
All right, we are back here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver, along with Tim Montana. We're going to jump back into this interview where I left off, and we're talking about maybe on a one-way road in Gabbs, Nevada. Anyways, people on the show, I'm not going to go into the full story about that night because it's funny, but it takes a while. But the owner of this bar, it was a double-wide trailer they turned into a bar in this town. And the owner's in there, and here's me and Trav at like 1 a.m. just drinking them out of whiskey. And the owner goes, I'm told by these kids outside that you're kind of famous, but you don't act famous and you don't look famous, but who are you and what do you do? And Travis just laughed his ass off. I can't remember. He had a liner, like you said, X Games, but it was one of those where this guy's like, yeah, I'm supposed to like treat you nice or something, but you're not acting like a celebrity, Just one of those where Travis a good guy, and he just takes it all in stride, but it's funny as hell.
Yeah, well, he came to Montana. He was like 45 minutes late for his connecting flight. And he called me when he landed, running to the airport. He's like, there's no way. He's like, I'm 45 minutes after this flight was supposed to leave the gate to Bozeman, Montana. And then he calls me from the plane. He's like, dude, they held the plane. Why would they do that? I'm like, I'm sure that it came on the intercom, and someone that flies a plane probably knows what you do for a living and probably knows who you are and probably thought that was cool.
They damn sure ain't gonna hold a plane for me. I have never had that happen.
No
so.
kidding.
That's some
I've
bitch.
been kicked off planes.
Yeah, I was gonna say they know I'm coming. They leave early.
Shut down the booze service.
Exactly. So I want to, so we're going through this list of all these people Tim Montana's met. So this whole thing with Street Bike Tommy and Hillbilly Rich, isn't this the time where I know you and Charlie Sheen have become kind of buddies? Wasn't there a point when all this is going on, Charlie Sheen sees this Hillbilly Rich video and then all of a sudden reaches out to you because he thought it was the raddest video he'd ever seen or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Rob O'Neill sent it to him. Rob has been one of those guys like Tommy that I started sending O'Neill music to Afghanistan when I was probably 21. A song called Freedom's Never Free, and wrote him a letter with it because his brother's the hometown DJ that played Beat America that ultimately got me on Letterman. So there's all these little dots of connectivity here. And Rob sent the video to Charlie Sheen because Charlie played in the movie Navy SEALs, and they became buddies. So all of a sudden my T-shirt guy calls me and says, dude, are you looking at Twitter? And I was like, no. And I get on Twitter and there's Charlie Sheen with a tweet about how awesome the Hillbilly Rich video is, tagging me. And I'm like, holy shit, wow. And followers and the views just start blowing up. And I'm like, no way. So I reach out to Rob and I'm like, did you have something to do with this? He's like, yeah, man, I sent him a video. It's a good video. And I was like, no way. And he goes, yeah, he wants you to call him. So I get on the horn with him and start chatting. I'm like, dude, I'm coming out to L.A. Me and Billy Gibbons have a session we're going to do here in a few weeks. Love to come to the house. So I get to L.A., pick up Gibbons, and him and I roll up to Sheen's house. And they knew each other from a scene in 2.5 Men where Charlie's high and all of a sudden ZZ Top shows up and does the swing of the arm and points at the bathroom and disappears. It's a really funny scene from that show. But, so we just chatted, and as I'm talking to him, I'm like, man, I got this really deep, dark song about a guy that's like holed up in his house alone. It's called Mostly Stoned, but it's not really a pop song. It's more like a metaphor for just wanting to be away from people and humanity and just locked up in your house thinking about your life. And I played it for him, and I was like, dude, you should direct it. And he's like, well, I'm not a director. And then he like went down the rabbit hole, wrote a script, a treatment for this video, sent it to me, and it was so weird and bizarre, but yet cool. He caught onto a lot of things in my life that he didn't know about that he put in this treatment. And so we were able to raise enough money to shoot this video independently, called Mostly Stoned, in right outside of Nashville. And he flew down here and stayed for probably a week, came over to the house for dinner. My nanny didn't believe my daughter the next day when she said Charlie Sheen was here for dinner last night. And we shot this amazing video, and that thing ended up blowing up online and doing really good as well. So
that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about this year. Obviously, pandemic hit, and it threw all of us in a tailspin. I know, obviously, you and the boys from Black Rifle had your song, the quarantine song that did really, really well on the net. But which brings us to kind of where we're at, man, and kind of battling back. Life's starting to get put back together. I know you and I spent some time at Dirtfish together, but you just dropped a new album, Long Shots, man. I got to tell you, I listened to this entire album when it dropped. We were talking about it. We were up there at Dirtfish, and this is one of those that got added into my like barbecue and like campfire playlist, dude. This is one of those weird albums where you can listen to the first song all the way to the last song, and all of them are good. And I don't say that about many albums, you know what I mean? There's lots of them. There's 2 or 3 good ones. This one, dude, I can listen to the whole thing all the way through, man. You guys nailed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to have a musical journey. A lot of people are just like, oh, just put a bunch of singles on it. I'm like, no, I want like a hit them hard in the beginning and then come down a little bit with that River Kids vibe, and then come up with that, kind of swagger of Don't Wait Up on Me kind of hip hop thing, and then go into an acoustic thing. We just really wanted it to be a journey where you could put it on a road trip and listen to the whole thing, and then end with this really deep metaphorical written song called To an End. But we had fun. I teamed up with Michael Knox, and he's the guy that signed me to my first major label contract that I signed right at the beginning of quarantine, I believe. So a year and a half ago, something like that. So we went in and recorded that sucker, and pretty excited. And this summer seems to be opening up pretty good. We play a lot of markets, biker rallies and stuff, and bikers don't wear helmets. They're probably not going to wear masks either, so I don't think they were too affected by the pandemic like the rest of the world. So we're going to play some bike rallies and all that, and I think we're pretty much booked every weekend, June through October as of now, and it's filling up in between. So it'll be good to get back on the road, make up for lost time, But it was also good to be home and reconnect with my kids and be like, oh, that's what my children are like.
Yeah. It is funny how that works. It's the same way. I was, the whole pandemic, 6 months, you really didn't travel much. And I came out of it. I don't know. I was one of those where I kind of still did what I wanted to do. I just tried to follow in whatever these freaking guidelines they had were. But,
Right.
it's one of those where I got the status with my airlines and everything else. And I flew maybe like 3 or 4 flights all last year, which is crazy because I normally, I've done 3 or 4 flights in a week before, and it was like that was nuts to me. But now getting back on the road and stuff like that, it is weird because I think we all kind of learned a little bit. Like, I'm never at home, and last year I was at home a ton, and there was things I miss about it. I mean, I miss being on the road, but I don't know if you're the same, but it was like, yeah, I probably could be on the road a little less and at home a little more, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit, if that makes any sense,
Yeah, I think so too. And also, I had a list of projects I was going to do at home, and I don't think I accomplished any of them. It was just kind of like, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to remodel that. This bathroom's got to get tore out. And I'm like, all I've been doing is sitting around drinking in the garage and playing guitar. But then my wife and I joked. We're like, we're either going to get a divorce or have a baby. And then about week 3, she came in. She's like, well, I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh, Jesus. So that happened, just populating the earth. But our whole freaking street did it, man. Both sides of the house, just babies up and down the street. I'm like, good Lord, I know what everyone did during quarantine.
That's funny. All these kids. Well, the good news is if you stay there, all the kids are going to grow up together, right? Be about the same age. So that actually could be interesting, They'll probably all be best friends for life,
COVID kids.
Yeah, exactly. They'll bond over something, man. But, that's got to have you excited as an artist, though. I mean, obviously my TV work dried up a little bit and some of the announce work, things like that. But you as as somebody that tours and on stage, you had to miss that. I know me as a fan, I miss going and watching live music. And, and obviously some of it started to come back. But you as an artist, man, that's like a part of you that kind of got taken away there for a bit.
Yeah, that was the bummer part, is getting out to play these songs. We got a new record, and the best way to promote a new record is touring. And not being able to do that, and so it's like you don't want to lose your chops, because it's like there's a kind of a musician rule of your band. Your band sounds its best after like week 3 on the road, if you're out there playing those songs in different sound systems every night and kind of lose so it's like you try to rehearse as much as possible, and then most of my band ended up getting COVID. I had COVID. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I didn't lose my sense of smell, nothing. I just all of a sudden had antibodies. But my wife got it pretty bad. It was just a weird time, man. Then I got a call somewhere during the middle of quarantine that they were filming a Western movie in Montana. This is kind of interesting. And read some lines. A buddy of mine up there is a historian. And I ended up landing a movie role. So I went up there, and it was with Sam Worthington and Heather Graham and Thomas Jane and Machine Gun Kelly and quite a big cast.
Wow.
So I filmed up there in an old Western town, and it was really cool, the costumes, and I raised a little bit of hell, but then I made up for it. The night I wrestled people in their cowboy costumes and got in trouble, the next night we had Traeger Grills show up, and I cooked for everybody and made my peace with the Western town. Sorry about the fighting. But they actually just put me on another one. They don't want to talk about the title yet, but I head out the end of the month. And this is another pretty big movie. Richard Dreyfuss is in it. And I've got a pretty significant role in this one. So it's been really weird, but I always dreamed. I love cowboy culture. I love the old West. And, so I'm like, yeah, I'll jump in this and just, make a few movies. If I suck, at least I tried it. If it works out, then it worked out.
Well, and I know, you talk about cowboy stuff like that, and I know you tried to be, you went to L.A. to be, a rock star, basically, and you ended up, and I love, you've got kind of that rock country vibe going on. I think all of this, it fits in. It's like, who the hell is Tim Montana? I don't know, you just kind of do your own thing. It's a mix of everything, and it's funny, because the first time I listened to your music, I'm like, man, I hear a lot of, the only guy I could ever compare it to would be a little bit of Kid Rock, and now come to find out you guys are friends and you've toured with him and you've done songs, it's written for him and things like that. I'm like, this all makes sense now,
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. It's kind of straddling that line. I mean, I grew up, I love rock and roll music, ZZ Top, Nirvana, Foo Fighters. You know, that's what I find myself listening to most of the time, and Tom Petty, but it's like I've also loved Waylon and that side of country music, so trying to combine those musical experiences and bring it, you know, to a new place to where I can be like, okay, I want to sound like myself. You know, you turn on the radio today and so many songs are like exactly the same thing, and the singers are so vanilla, and they're like missing that character part. You know, they're like not characters anymore. Waylon was a character. Willie's a character. Kid Rock's a character. And we're kind of losing that, I feel, in modern music where, you know, I think everyone's kind of scared to be who they are. So I'm like, well, I ain't scared. You can either love me or hate me, but let's raise some hell, boy.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned all this about characters, and I've said that, you know, in off-road, and like, you know, some people, it's funny, depending on who you talk to, and I'm saying this, but it's like I've always been a pro wrestling fan, just have. And it's not necessarily the wrestling, it's the fucking storytelling. And, you know, you got the black hats, you got the white hats. Like, half the people in off-road racing tell you I'm a black hat. The other half tell you I'm a white hat, depending on how close they know me. But it's like I got my friends Natalie and Jonathan. And Natalie, she's a pro wrestler. She's done a bunch of Hollywood stuff. So I've introduced them to Street Bike Tommy. They're all tight now. But she just re-signed with WWE. And she's the sweetest woman you'll ever meet, right? And they've got her on TV, and people are demonizing her on social media. I think it's hilarious. You know, like, she's got 5 million followers. So these people are literally attacking her like it's a witch hunt. And I'm like, dude, you don't realize everybody's loving this because she's just taking the money to the bank. And I'm not saying, you know, being a character, you know what I mean? You're a character just by trade. That's you. That's your personality. But I'm saying, like, we need more of that. We need more storytelling. We need people to show that, because I feel like so many people want to be vanilla. They don't want to be right. They don't want to be left. They don't want to make waves. They just want to be completely down the middle, you know, and I feel like we need characters now, you know, and some people are going to like it, some people aren't, but you got to be comfortable in your own skin, you know?
Right. Well, I woke up this morning to Mia Chapman harassing me on social media, saying that she's faster than me.
I love
giving her hell.
I laughed too. I was like, I saw that. I was like, dang, girl's going for the jugular this morning.
I know. Her dad was like, you're really bringing my kid out of her shell. I'm like, it's funny when you just fuck with people 24/7. Like, that's one thing I've learned about this business too. And it goes back to 6 years ago. I got a call and they said, do you want to be on Eric Church's album cover for The Outsiders? And I was like, well, am I going to get to meet Eric and maybe do a little networking with him? And they're like, well, maybe, but he's pretty guarded. And I was like, okay. So I go to this thing, and we charge through. It's the old Tennessee State Prison with our fists in the air, and Eric's in front. I got a second with him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm really good friends with Billy from ZZ Top. And I could tell he was like, cool, I don't care. And I was like, okay, that failed. And I went out, hey, man, I love it. I know Kid Rock. Anyway, look, big fan. I don't care. That failed. So finally, like, you know what? I'm going to switch to my other persona that I know. I went up and I said, hey, man, when am I getting paid for this? Are you writing the check or somebody else? And he paused and just stared at me, and a smile went on his face. And all of a sudden, he grabbed me and started walking and talking with me.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. But we'll be back with more right after this, right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show. Want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Gentle Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver here, wrapping things up. Big thanks to Tim Montana. That was aired in its entirety on my show Project Action on Podcast One. So if you want to listen to that uncut, and there's actually some more to it, another probably 10 minutes of that interview, head over to Project Action on Podcast One, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, it's on Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to that whole thing uncut. You're at Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to this show as well, the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm at Jim Beaver 15 on social media. So, yeah, if you're on Lake Havasu this weekend or up by Pirates Cove, hit me up on social. I would love to hang out and have a drink with you guys. And big thanks to all our partners, Gentle Tire, Polaris RZR, Vision Wheel, Rigid Industries, Dirtfish, Optimus, Fistful of Bourbon, iRacing, and everybody else. Thanks to for your continued support of the show. GSPX TV Axles for keeping us dialed in. Couldn't do it without you guys. And yeah, I think with that being said, it's Jim Beaver 15 if you want a coupon discount, 15% off at Dirtfish Rally School. And we'll see you next time. Next week, probably talk some Baja 500, and who knows what guests we'll have, but you know it's going to be hella good, hella fun, and yeah, we'll see you next time right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.